Going, guys? And we are back for day 4 of the productivity series. Welcome to the Knowledge Boner podcast. Your boy Dylan Starr here, your host, with my co-host Wally Wynn in his tank top, rocking it as usual.
Yep, it's same one.
Same one. How's that possible that we have the same shirt on as yesterday's episode? That's so weird.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's almost as if we are just doing our content in advance so that we can stay consistent. Oh wait, that is what we're doing. There's a gold nugget for you guys if you haven't been tuning in to the previous episodes.
So it sounds like you guys are wondering. You might be wondering how all these people are putting out hella content on like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and like Snapchat all at the same time, and they all did stories. How did they do it? Front-loaded content.
I almost wish that it like the gym could work that way. You're like, you know what? I have like all these workout routines scheduled out for the week. I'm just going to knock them all out in one day, and then that'll just count for the rest of the week and be good to go.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. So what's today's topic going to be, Wally? What are we productivity week?
So it's productivity week, but today we're going to talk about networking. And so I think when we talked about networking, we didn't necessarily specify, but should we talk about business networking or just talk about just meeting people in general? Probably business networking, huh?
I think a combination of both, because especially if our listeners are coming in and maybe they're brand new and they don't have any business experience whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And we all know that we spoke before about like, your environment is important, right? Mm-hmm. So even so much as getting out and networking with the right people to achieve your goals, such as, maybe you have weight loss goals, right? Well, what's going to be the best way to go and do that is you want to surround yourself with people who naturally eat right and they work out. Well, you have to be able to know how to network. You have to know how to go and find those people and eliminate the people you're surrounding yourself with and go with them. But the same thing's with business. Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to network and go out and meet other entrepreneurs, especially if you're brand new, so that you're kind of having someone that you talk to on a day-to-day basis, holding you accountable and stuff. So when it comes to like, networking, we know I have here contacts and routines. Where would you say people should start, and why is networking important?
So yeah, I'll talk about that. But I'll talk about something else right before. So let's get a good picture of what that does, what a bad example looks like. So what's a bad example? Well, if you get, like, for example, I'm sure you've been in class before in high school, right? And you have the one guy that sits in the back, doesn't talk to anybody, just chilling there, maybe looking down at his hand, maybe just sitting there writing his journal, whatever, but never associates with anybody. That's a bad example. And you see that actually all the time out in normal, like outside of high school, but like in normal business networking meetings all the time. You'll see people be, very introverted, right? And not saying that introverts are bad social beings, but on some level, you have to conquer some of those pieces of yourself. At least when it comes to going out and meeting people and shaking hands. So where should you start? The best place to start, in my opinion, is, well, I guess for me, it was in college, right? And I did a lot of networking in college, but I did it in a subliminal way and not the way that most people would think. So what I mean by that is, a lot of people in college, they pick up jobs, right? So they might pick up a job, being a waiter, or like, maybe working at a gas station or something, right? The most common one is a waiter. And so what a lot of people do in college when they pick up their waiter job is they just go there for their hours and they leave. So what I mean by that, like, they show up to work their hours, they wait their tables, they get their tips, and they interact with the people who work there, right? But they don't really get an invested interest in the owners, right? They don't build a relationship with the owners of that facility. So that's something that I did. And so what that allowed me to do whenever I left college is now I actually have like the business owners that I used to work for, like they're all like good friends of mine that I can go and contact. So now how does that help me in business now, right? Helps me amazingly, right? I'm a young guy, I'm only 25, but because I was able to do that and work for people for so long and actually build those relationships through networking, right? It's a different kind of networking, but I was building those relationships now that gives me the advantage now that I have, right? And so I think that's the best place to start for a lot of people before you just go straight right out like business meetings or random like, meetups and stuff, is like within your circle that you exist in, your warm people, like, your company, your business, your wherever you work or the people that are in your close company, like, go and talk to those people, like surround yourself and see if you can mingle in and start to get up and meet like more important people within your company. Right.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the first thing starts is you have to get out of the house. You're never
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to network if you just stay at home all the time. You definitely, go to events, go to meetups. I love meetup.com. There's tons of groups out there. Even if you like to, get out and volunteer, you can go to volunteer organizations and, but it's super important. Like, your networking needs to be a high level skill that you eventually get to the point where you master. And so when we talk about networking, let's kind of go into the contacts portion of it, okay? And like do's and don'ts, because a lot of people go and they screw up networking. And I think one of the key things is whenever you go out to network, right? It should never be about selling somebody on anything. Don't try to sell anyone. Don't make it and never make it about you. This is actually the cool thing about networking that I think people have backwards is a lot of people want to put on the front and make it all about them, like, they're so amazing and blah blah blah. But in reality is, people don't give a shit about you. They really don't. People only care about themselves. So why is that a benefit for us? Well, it's a benefit for us because we can just make it all about them. And if you're nervous, that's good because you don't even have to talk about you. Like, when we and Wally go in networking events, especially if it's like other successful people and they have like a certain skill set, like, we get excited for it. Like, I'm intrigued to ask them about, their journey. How did they accomplish getting to where they were, and just fascinated by their story. And I want to know more. I don't even give a shit to talk about me and what I've done.
No, I
And
don't. And
stuff,
I don't. I make it a point not to even. I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about me at all. Like, I want to hear everything you have to say because I don't, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And if you're in a position where, okay, so I guess we should reiterate, when you're networking, you want to be networking with people that are achieving or where you want to be. So whether it's like health wise, like somebody that's like insanely fit and like a goal that you're aspiring to, or financially, right? You want to surround yourself with people that almost like you're uncomfortable. If you ever walk into a room and it's just different and you're just like let's say you're just not used to the gym environment and you see all these, these fit guys working out and they look good and you're just like, that you're really flabby and you got to get in shape and you're just like, and you're uncomfortable, that's good. You are in the right place. Your environment actually should be uncomfortable. That's how you know that you're around the right people. Good. Feel it, embrace it, know that you're there. Now, your goal is to build connections with these people, right? You want to get into their inner circle, whether they're extremely wealthy or they're extremely fit. And you do that by asking the right questions and learning there. So I look at when I'm networking as whatever free information and intel I can get is exciting. I don't want to go there with the sake of talking about me. I want to ask as many questions as I possibly can, because if they're going to tell me something that's like pure gold and I know I can apply it to my business and it didn't cost me anything, I just got there just to spend time with somebody and by asking the right questions. So, and what I mean by asking the right questions is you don't want to go in there like, and ask yes. You don't want a response that's going to be yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to master. Networking is all about being a master at asking questions. In fact,
And
sales
open-ended questions. Yeah, and
sales is a master at being a master at asking open-ended questions, right? You want people to express themselves, not like, oh, did your daughter win her tournament game last night? Oh, yeah, she won. She did a really good job. And that's it. You need to be able to reframe that question, like, oh, how did your daughter do and how did she feel after her event last night? Oh my gosh, she did so amazing. She was one of the top performers and she was so excited at the end of the night. And oh man, I bet that was a wonderful experience for her and blah, blah, blah. Like you frame your questions to get them talking. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which does one of two things. It kind of helps you kind of establish that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to, if you haven't seen our unlikable ebook, ways to be unlike, definitely click the link below, download that free ebook. And we kind of talk about this as well. You don't want to be that person that goes and you just meet somebody and you want to start regurgitating all your past failures and everything bad about you. Like when you have no relationship established, that's actually one of the 9 traits. If you're overweight, like, oh man, yeah, I see that you're a fit guy and yeah, I have to lose like 90 pounds and I've been so depressed and my wife left me because I was overweight and I'm really trying to change things. Like, guys, don't fucking go down the rabbit hole of doing that. You're not going to be likable, at
Yeah.
all.
Well, it just
So
seems like you're having a pity party more than you are anything else, right? Because you didn't come from the right place. It's not you didn't come from the place of you didn't go and ask him about him and his life and what he does and all that kind of stuff. And then whenever he asks you, that gives you permission to expound, to give personal information. But
yeah,
but
yeah.
do
So
not
so
do not.
definitely. Definitely, especially for this topic, guys. If you're serious about wanting to expand your influence of friends or get into the right inner circles, download our Unlikable 9 Ways to Be Unlikable series, our ebook. Make sure that you read that and you actually apply that, because that even goes to social media. There's a topic in there that talks about social media. There are actually things, do's and don'ts, that a lot of you listening do all the time, and you don't even realize it, and we expound upon that in that ebook. And the link to that should be below if you're listening here on YouTube. I think what do you remember what URL we put that on for those listening here on Anchor?
What, this should be knowledgeboner.com/ebook.
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
www.
www.knowledgeboner.com/ebook.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening in and you want to check that out, definitely check out that ebook that we created for you guys, and apply that to whenever you're networking. So how do we go about getting the contact info? Let's kind of expound about that. So you're out, you're meeting people, you're networking, you're asking the right questions, Wally. You want to get to know them, and now we want to be in their inner circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is important, and this is all, and this expounds about being productive, because your productivity is going to increase when you're around other successful people who are being more productive than you. That's why we're doing this in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to go with the sake of business cards. In fact, if you have business cards, you need to throw them the hell away. If you're going to events just handing out business cards, there's no value. No one gives a shit. It's going to end up in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So stop wasting your time. So what's the best way to kind of build that relationship and then get to the point where, you want to get their contact information and then go from there?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. This could go on for a really long time because the strategies are so. It depends on the networking event. Depends on the kind of event you're going to go to. But I'm going to take the kind of event out and just say, and I'm just going to go straight for the question. And it's so how do I ask the right questions? Well, so first off, it's going to depend on how I'm introduced to them, right? So if I go and shake their hand, or if I'm going up to if I'm like outreaching and going to meet that person, then it's way different than if they're introduced to me, right? So the first one I think is if I'm going out to if I'm introducing myself to someone, I will go straight up. I'll go straight up. Hey, I'll go firm handshake, eye contact. Body language is important, right? And then I'll introduce myself, and then they'll introduce themselves, and then you'll probably begin some like very very light small talk. And it was kind of funny is actually I was actually at a networking event a couple of days ago, and you would be surprised how hard small talk actually is. And what I mean by that is
Awkward,
it's
yeah.
really hard. No, because so what happened to me was I went to the networking event, and I was at an event with it was with a bunch of people who worked at a hospital, right? So they all work in a hospital, and I'm an entrepreneur. Me and my brother were at this event. We were both entrepreneurs, so we're in here trying to we go to network with these people, right? And what we found out is we had nothing in common. Even the small talk was impossible because they want to talk about work, and I don't work there. So, so I think that's one thing too. Is another important thing to realize is one is you pick your audience right, but then two, kind of getting in, and once you introduce yourself to that person, what's the first thing I always use is, like I said, eye contact, always shake their hand very firmly. But then if I'm gonna pique their interest, I'm gonna ask them like, oh hey, what are you passionate about, or what do you do for a living, or what do you something like that, and you got to kind of spark the conversation. But really, you're going to feel it organically as you go, because it's going to be terrible the first few times you try to talk to a business person.
One of the things I like to do, especially when I'm in those situations you talk, if I know I'm kind of in the wrong audience of people, or I don't have anything in common, is I purposely will try to find common ground, and I'll kind of gauge the environment. And you realize everyone is connected into a whole web out of 7 billion people. Everyone's connected to everyone between 6 people. So that's what they did studies on. That's what they found. So there's 6 people out there that will allow you to be connected to every single other person. Like it's just this whole web of 6, and this crazy connections, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you may have something in common with them, right? Maybe it's not entrepreneurship or something, but if there's like, you listening in, me and Wally like anime and video games and stuff. And, maybe you're sitting there, there's this awkward silence. And sometimes I like to I'll make a joke and I'll point out the awkward silence, like I'll just say something out loud just to kind of get people to
You'd be like,
relax and
man,
laugh.
this is awkward.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, right. And next thing you know, especially if it's like you and a group of guys, maybe you came there with your girlfriends, and it's just like, yeah, like, am I the only one that just kind of got like thrown into this, didn't know what was going on, and just, had to come. And then of course all the girls are going to go into the kitchen and then just leave us all alone. And then, next thing you know, they're like, oh yeah, they do that all the time. And it irritates the hell out of me.
It's awesome that Dylan said, he says that. And actually, I'm going to point out what he did here is he took the initiative, right? And actually the funny thing is in a networking group, and if you can see the whole room and that it's awkward in that bitch, like really awkward, like meaning like nobody's talking, they're kind of like, shuffling, head, the eyes kind of down, whatever. And you take the initiative to be the first person that talks to someone, or you walk up to him and say, hey man, like what's the deal? Like that person's going to really, really like you. That person will really, really like you because you're relieving a lot of pressure off of them because they didn't want to take the initiative.
Yeah. Which comes with the skill set. So yesterday, we talked about affirmations. So if you know that you're not comfortable just taking initiative and going and engaging conversations, you have to change that, especially if you want to be a good networker.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think networking actually is. I think it's actually all initiative based. Actually, mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah, because you gotta realize too how nerve-wracking it's going to be if, let's say you are, say you're at an event with a very high-level entrepreneur, like Warren Buffett. I know they just had a huge event with 10,000 people, and it was Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, where they did an actual conference together. Like that's crazy. Like I would have killed to be able to go to that. I don't even know how much it costs to actually go there, but to be in a room with 10,000 people and hear from Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, right? Now imagine like afterwards, like when you see someone of that esteemed status and you want to talk to them and ask them questions, right? It's either they're going to be bombarded with people, and the people are the ones that are outgoing, and then other ones aren't even going to take the chance to go up and speak to them. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you better believe your ass if I ever get the opportunity to be around them. And then if Warren Buffett or Bill Gates, they're going to the bathroom and I'm like, oh shit, all of a sudden I have to pee. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to be sitting at the urinal. I'm going to get some kind of gold nugget, whatever I got to do while I'm taking a piss to be like, just give me something gold. Give me something, Warren. Come on. What do you got? And just to build an initiative, right? So the first step is like, you just can't be nervous. You have to, if you see an opportunity and they're not bombarded or anyone of a high stature, you have to divvy up the courage to 1, 2, 3, go, and just force yourself to walk before your brain even knows what the hell's going on.
And the funny thing is there's a guy named Andy Frisella that talks about this when people, because he's a really big speaker now, after his podcast kind of popped off. And so he talks about it where people, we walk up to him at the end of the event, right? And he'd be sitting there hanging out and people walk up to the end of the event and he said some bold people would walk up to him. Some bold people would walk up to him and be like, yo, I want your personal cell phone number, right? And he'd be like, he was like, I will politely decline. Thanks. But I appreciate that I appreciate your initiative. I appreciate your drive. So the funny thing is, even though you might get shot down, like completely, 100%, like that is 100, that just like when you go talk to a girl and you take the initiative, you get shot down right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. It could totally happen, but just know that they will at least respect you for taking the initiative.
Yeah. But even in that rejection, like think about if you had an opportunity with someone of that stature, 1 out of 10, right? Mm-hmm. 9 people may say no, but you get that one yes, and then next thing you know, you get to go and have lunch and then kind of pick their brain. That's huge. Mm-hmm. But you're never going to get there unless you try.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have approached it as just like, hey, let me get your number. I wouldn't just walk up and do that. You gotta. I would have built some kind of like rapport.
Right. Well, see but that guy wasn't a professional. He hasn't learned soft skills yet. He hasn't learned that's what we're talking about here basically, is when we're doing networking and stuff, it's soft skills. It's all those, it's the things that you really need to be successful in business besides all the other stuff, like besides just knowing what to do.
Yeah, sorry, he's cutting out a little bit there while he's in a rainy location in Texas, where his internet kind of cuts in and out.
So I'm just saying, like, soft skills being like the skills that you need to know to be successful in business, but it's the skills that but you know, you obviously need hard skills too. It's like, you know, accounting, you know, like knowing laws, like that kind of stuff. Like those are all tangible things. But soft skills is like, you know, leadership, you know, communicating, how to run a meeting, you know, how to talk to somebody, how to ask the right question, like those kinds of things. Like you can't learn that without actually doing it, right?
Yeah, and it's as simple as connecting with people as well, guys. If you go to a networking event and you meet someone, and let's say you just get to the point where you can ask them for the phone number. It's okay afterwards to connect with them on Facebook or even LinkedIn, and then just be like, hey, you know, we met over at so and so event. You know, had a great conversation talking about XYZ. I would reiterate what we spoke about so that I would come into their brain. They'd be like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. Would love to connect, right? And then now this is where value comes in. You know, if you're following someone successful and you want to network with them, you can keep up with them. Be like, hey, I just saw your blog post that you did, read it. I loved it. You know, I just got your new program that you came out with, and I'm super excited to implement this. Right? Again, you're keeping them in the back of your mind and showing initiative that you're keeping up with what they're doing, and you're giving them value and saying, I loved it, like blah blah blah. And it's as simple as that. And they'd be like, hey, you know, I'd love to talk and chat sometime. And then eventually, you know, you can ask them for their number, but at least you just want to kind of establish that role of connection, especially if it's somebody like way, way, way above you. And you use common judgment, guys. If you're just networking with other people, then sure, ask for a number. But if it's somebody that's like super high level, you got to realize that everyone wants to network with them. And the thing that you have to understand, especially if you're listening to this, is people at a very high level are at a high level because they're very picky about their inner circle. And this is what you guys have to understand. This is why networking is so key. Successful people network with successful people, and that's why they stay successful. They don't network with people that are below them, negativity and people that don't care about investing and any of that shit. Their tight circle of friends and influence is how they got to be where they are. And they're not going to just let anybody come into there. Right? Even if you badly want to be in that inner circle, you and hundreds of thousands of other people would kill to be in that inner circle. So you have to use your better judgment, and you have to you have to play the long game when it comes to ultra successful people when you're networking, because it's just not that easy. And sometimes sometimes you may have to pull out your damn credit card and buy their shit to get into you know, their inner circle. I'm serious. You know, like if they have like a program or something, or maybe they just launched a new product, and you're like, damn, well, I really want to build a relationship with this person. So like, hey, I just bought your thing. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to see you in your, you know, your group or your next training that you're having, your live training, and I'll say hi, right? You just want to be in the back of their head and always show initiative, and then that you're doing it. And then that's how people, I mean, look, you know, if you're Gary Vaynerchuk friend, you know, look at, what's his name?
D-Rock.
D-Rock, yeah. D-Rock, I think he said he sent out like over 100 emails, like constantly, like bombarding Gary. And Gary's like, yeah, I ignored. And then, you know, eventually he's like, oh, screw it. And he took the time and did a clip for Gary on his social media and got his foot in the door. Gary loved it. And then gave him a shot. And now D-Rock is like his right-hand man, and they do everything together. They're really close friends. You know, tons of people were trying to do that. But, you know, D-Rock was just, boom, persistent, and he gave value, right? So that's the key, guys, is if you're going to be networking and you want to get in someone's inner circle, you have to be able to give value. Do something for them that's, you know, for free. Like, you know, show them that you care about their well-being and that you're trying to help them, and you're not just doing it to help yourself. And I think that's the biggest key, and that's the biggest takeaway.
And I think also, like, you know, most people, you got to remember, like, when people go to networking meetings, I guarantee, unless you're somebody that's important or you just made a really good impression on me, I probably won't remember you. Right. And that becomes even more like, that's just me at our level. Like, think about how it becomes like whenever you go like really, really high, like whenever you're like, now you're making $1 billion, how many people you meet on a day-to-day basis? You know what I mean? So I mean, you have to become memorable, right? And I'll tell you guys one of my secret networking hacks of how I've met a lot of people in life. And Dylan knows I know a lot of random people.
A lot of random people, yeah.
A lot of random, like all kinds of places, just whatever. Not say it to brag, just to say that, you know, I've just figured out a good way to talk to people, right? And the easiest one for me, and I picked this trick up back when I was doing other things in the world. But what I would do is, if I met somebody, right, if I met them and I didn't get their number right then, I would immediately remember one thing about them, one thing, like one really, really fascinating thing about them that we talked about right that second. And I would make it a point to ingrain it into my brain, right? So that way, the next time I saw that person physically, it didn't matter where I saw them. So I could see them again. Maybe I got introduced them to a friend. Maybe I ran into them again at a bar. Maybe we lived in the same city and I ran into them at an event. I would literally regurgitate that exact thing that I remembered about them right when I saw them. I was like, hey man. So if they told me about their daughter or their family or whatever, right when I met them, like, okay man, hey, how's your family? I remember that your daughter was having a birthday coming up soon and you did it fun. Did you have a good turnout and that kind of stuff, right? And it's just like, just proving the fact that you can retain the fact that, that person exists, their name, and you remember one thing about them and make them feel so special. And they will like definitely help you, not like help you when it comes to building that rapport and like, deep relationship with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your actual, your bot software allows you to do that too when you're entering contacts, right? You can put that one thing that you remembered about them and it reminds you.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So you get the first name, you can get their email. They may not give you the email right after that, but if they give you a card, then you can just take it right off the card, right?
Right.
And then one thing unique about them, yes. Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah. So kind of another good tip. Well, so yeah, so there you have it, guys. Being productive with networking, and it's going to help you become more productive by getting around the right people, kind of seeing their day-to-day tasks, what they do to stay productive as well. The whole goal here is to be able to gain what they have, right? You want, whether it's their income, their health, their mindset, whatever it is, being able to network, surround yourself with those people is going to hold you accountable. It's going to help you stay productive. And it really is key. Just like billionaire Dan Pena says, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future. He says it all the time. And it's so true because, you take your close 5 friends and you look at everything in their life, you're going to be the average of those 5 people. Whatever they have, you will have, because that's who you surround yourself with. So if you want to change that and surround yourself with other people to achieve those next level, you have to master networking. You have to master being productive. So we will catch you guys tomorrow on the next episode. If you want to have access to the software he's talking about, it's exclusive only to our Facebook members. Tomorrow will be Rant Friday, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.